Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
The Stock Movers Report, your roundup of companies making moves in the stock market, harnessing the power of Bloomberg data.
Let's take a look at some of the individual stocks on the move today. We are joined by Bloomberg's equities reporter, Joe Easton. And Joe, we're going to start with AJ Bell ringing in the gains. Why?
Yeah, well, the ringing, the bell, okay, no, I'm with you there. So took me a minute. So
it's a complicated and nuanced.
No, it took me a second to catch that, but it works. AJ Bell ringing in the gains, up 10%. That is the most in a year. So the investment platform company doing well. They had their earnings out this morning, beating expectations in the first half of the year and saying results will be above guidance. Now, in the statement, they say how the volatility in April was positive for the company. So swings in the markets, giving people the opportunity to trade. And then with all the headlines that we saw around Trump's tariffs, the financial market's just in the news, the kind of time where, your mates in the pub start asking me and all of us that work here what to do with their investments, and therefore the retail investment company is actually doing really well, and AJ Bell being one of the main ones, and that one is rising 10% in terms of their stock today.
It's okay if you can get an app that keeps the costs down for your investment as a retail investor, but that's, it's pretty tricky, as you say. In terms of traders who are worried about the outlook for Games Workshop, what's been going on with that company? I hear so much about Games Workshop.
Yeah, so Games Workshop, this is Warhammer, so the company that owns Warhammer, the tabletop game. So it is model elves and goblins, of course. We don't talk about elves and goblins enough.
I've told you, please don't describe me like that. I find it deeply offensive.
Where can I go with that? I think I'll leave that there. But look, some gremlins lurking for this one. So Games Workshop, basically, this is a stock that pretty much outperforms consistently. It has done over the past few years, got added to the FTSE 100. So this is interesting because it's not video games much. It is actually people meeting up and painting these models and playing a tabletop game at meetups, and actually that's what the main core bulk of the business is. They have actually done video games and that kind of thing on top of that, but the core business is actually physical over-the-board games, and they've done really well over the past few years, but it's a rare earnings miss for them today, and the stock is actually down 3.5%, one of the worst performers in Europe today, so kind of just slightly missing the top end of expectations, and a lot of positivity was priced in on that one.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you have a collection on a shelf somewhere, hand-painted?
No. I should do it maybe just for some research. But
maybe Joe, you're more Comic-Con, which is happening this weekend in London. There you go, for one niche.
Could be me.
I could see Joe in an outfit, a Comic-Con outfit, couldn't you?
Yeah.
We'd have to imagine which one.
And maybe for a trip to the darts rather than Comic-Con.
Let's have a think about other stocks, shall we? It's Friday, we're having too much fun. Hexagon, considering a spin-off, lots of sides to this story.
I wrote that pun, so I'm taking credit for that. Hexagon. So this is actually a $30 billion company over in Sweden, which it hasn't. I haven't really looked at it much in the past. It's kind of off the radar, but it is a engineering company that does measuring. So anything that needs to be measured, and there is a lot of stuff that needs to be measured. They basically measure it. So that could be mostly, you'd think, in aerospace, in autos, in consumer goods, anything like that. And it's a $30 billion company. As I say, they're actually looking to spin off one of their businesses called MSC Software. It is a supplier in some of those sectors I mentioned, like aerospace. They bought it for $834 million from Elliott a couple of years ago, and they could potentially be selling it for $2 billion, according to the Bloomberg deals team, which is on a roll again with their exclusives, and therefore we're seeing Hexagon gaining today around 3%. Again, it's a pretty quiet market today, so this one is actually one of the best performers over in Sweden and in Europe, up 3% on that potential spin-off.
The Stock Movers Report from Bloomberg Radio. Check back with us throughout the day for the latest roundup of companies making news on Wall Street. And for the latest market-moving headlines, listen to Bloomberg Radio live. Catch us on YouTube, Bloomberg.com, and on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app.